Hello, and thank you for joining me today for Foundations of Yoga Part 3. In today's class, you will learn about deep breathing and two parts of the 8-limbed path of yoga, the 5 yamas and the 5 niyamas. We will look at these in more detail, and there will be a time for reflection at the end. To begin for our breathing today, I encourage you to learn a little more about your body with curiosity as we practice deep breathing, sometimes referred to as diaphragm breathing. And this is where we inhale and exhale through our nose, sitting in a tall, seated posture with your spine erect and room for your rib cage to expand. As you find yourself this way, seated or standing preferably, you may wish to place a hand on your chest and a hand on your belly. And as you feel them move, we want our attention to go to our belly. That on an inhale, the belly will expand and move outward, and then soften gently back towards our spine on the exhale. This is the motion of the diaphragm, moving down on the inhale and relaxing back up on the exhale. When we breathe deeply, using our diaphragm and our belly, that allows our breathing to slow, and it signals to our body that we're safe and can relax. I invite you to take a few deep breaths this way, inhaling through your nose, belly expanding out, and exhaling through your nose, belly softening down. Throughout your day, see if you can find time to focus on a few of these breaths. Moving on to the first limb, Yama, I would like to talk in a little more detail about what these 5 aspects are. From a previous lesson, we learned that the yamas are proper behavior toward others, or external ethics. The first one is non-violence. And this idea is more than just not committing a violent act like murder. It includes not harming others with our words and also our thoughts. It includes respecting our body and all other beings in the world. And this can be done by listening to our body, by thinking kind thoughts and saying kind words to others, showing self-kindness and compassion, and speaking positively of ourselves and others. The second yama is honesty. Being honest with yourself and others includes being truthful, but also living with your truth convictions, living with integrity and authenticity. The third yama is not stealing. And again, this goes beyond just refraining from taking something that doesn't belong to you. But it's also freeing yourself from the desire to have something that is not yours. This includes contentment, gratitude, and showing generosity to others. It includes not taking more than you need, respecting other people's boundaries, and respecting other people's time, so you can consider being late as an example of stealing time. Stealing ideas or plagiarism is another example. And so we can show self-acceptance and love, contentment, and kindness towards others in our generosity. The fourth yama is non-excess, or having moderation or the right use of our energy. This involves honoring ourselves and others in intimate relationships. It involves being present, not taking things for granted, and having a balance between doing and non-doing. The last yama is not being greedy. And this is an idea of non-grasping or non-attachment. We want to have the attitude that the material world is not permanent. And sometimes the more we grasp and try to hold on to things, the more they slip through our fingers. And so we can cultivate an attitude of generosity and being satisfied with what we have. Living in a simple and sustainable way is another example of this yama. We can declutter the areas around us and let go of material possessions or unhealthy attachments to them or others. We can also let go of expectations that we might have, trying to have things fit into our view. The second 8-limbed path is the niyamas. The first one is the idea of purity and cleanliness. The niyamas are ways to authentically be ourselves, and these internal observances can be seen with this first one, where we want to have a cleanliness not only of our mind and body, but also our surroundings. So an example of this would be considering the food that we eat, treating our body like a temple or a sacred place where we only allow positive thoughts and healthy, uplifting things and ideas into our mind and body. Performing actions to cleanse the mind, such as removing jealousy and anger, is another example of having purity. Forgiving others is a great way to move in this direction as well. In the material world, we can have a clean environment and keep the area around us positive and uplifting. The second niyama is contentment. Being content with who we are and what we have in the present moment is a great quality in our being to lend towards happiness. We find that the content of our heart is what makes us content. And so cultivating gratitude and humility and being mindfully present in every moment of every activity can deepen our sense of contentment and allow us to appreciate relationships and all we have. The third niyama is being authentic in our commitments, being disciplined to be our authentic selves. And this is the idea of having an inner fire that embraces challenges, that cultivates resilience and improvement. It allows us to consistently have healthy habits and push through any limitations that might be around us. The fourth niyama is self-study, where we grow in awareness of who we are and why we do what we do. An example of this is introspection. For an example, you could journal or just reflect in your thoughts about your day, about certain situations or reactions. And self-study can also be done by studying the sacred texts of various religions or philosophies, or the lives of inspirational people. As we look at these texts and these people and their lives and their experiences, we also learn about ourselves through that process. We learn more of who we are, and that is the example of self-study. The last niyama is surrender. We surrender to something greater than ourselves in the practice of yoga. We let go of our ego and trust the flow of life, trusting that each moment can teach us and help us grow. It is important to release the need for control and instead accept what is. This may be a devotion to something greater, a higher power who is good and guides us where we are meant to be, and the awareness that there is so much mystery and awe-inspiring beauty around us that we can surrender to and feel contentment in that moment. In closing, I invite you to reflect on what we learned Which of the 5 yamas could you work on in your life? And how would you do that? What are some practical steps to work on those? Second, what are the niyamas that you could work on in your life? Which of the 5 resonated with you as we discussed them? And what would it look like to practically implement those in your life? And are there any challenges that need to be overcome as you work in this direction? Thank you for joining me today, and I hope that you will tune in for the next class in this Foundations of Yoga.